Hello, folks. Welcome back to Nkandla, Africa. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania. Zuma Watch, Day 1, July 3rd, 2021. What are we talking about? A daily update on the status of former President Jacob Zuma, who is due to turn himself into authorities tomorrow, the 4th of July. America's Independence Day was supposed to be the end of Jacob Zuma's independence with incarceration for 15 months. But that's not going to happen. Former South African President Jacob Zuma delays his prison deadline with a last-ditch legal maneuver. Jacob Zuma and his lawyers successfully delayed his prison sentence for contempt of court today, Saturday, the 3rd of July, 2021, with South Africa's highest court agreeing to hear his application for a review of their decision that sentenced the 79-year-old to 15 months in prison for contempt after he failed to appear before the Zondo Commission back on the 24th of February of this year. Zuma and his lawyers claim that the sentence threatens his life and that the Constitutional Court's decision was unfair. That the court chose to hear his request is unprecedented and shocking in itself. There appears to be no provision that permits a convict to request reconsideration of a conviction by the court. South Africa's Constitutional Court has agreed to hear former President Jacob Zuma's challenge to rescind an order sentencing him to jail for 15 months on contempt charges. Now, the former president was given until the end of Sunday to hand himself in to correctional authorities, after which police would be obliged to arrest him by the 8th day after the court judgment. The court did agree today, Saturday, the 3rd of July, to hear his application, the unprecedented application, on July 12th. Now, several news media sources have indicate all sorts of things, including Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera's correspondent Famida Miller, who is at Nkandla, said that rather than handing himself over by tomorrow or face arrest in the coming days, Jacob Zuma will return or at least show up for the first time at the Constitutional Court to defend himself. And she's correct. His arrogance, his cheek to ignore the Zondo Commission, ignore the Constitutional Court, screaming he wanted a day in court while failing to show up, has been comical to say the least. Well, now he's going to get his day in court. In his application to annul the decision, which he submitted yesterday, Friday, the 2nd of July, Zuma said going to jail would put him at the highest risk of death from the pandemic because he's nearly 80 and he has medical conditions. But today, Zuma, hundreds of his supporters marching alongside him in his hometown of Nkandla in violation of South Africa's level 4 adjusted lockdown standards. Under those guidelines, South Africans must wear face coverings in public and maintain social distance. All public gatherings, both indoor and outdoor, are banned for 2 weeks. So all of Zuma's supporters who were present are subject to arrest. There are no reports of any arrest at Nkandla today. The South African Police Service are apparently too busy rounding up minorities for violating lockdown guidelines to bother with arresting the EFF or Zuma faction rule breakers. At one point, Zuma left his Nkandla compound surrounded by his Zulu leaders in traditional dress. One of his supporters yelled, "If he is arrested, we're going to war." Now, Zuma didn't speak to his supporters, as he was expected, but he is scheduled to speak and address supporters tomorrow, Sunday, the 4th of July, at 1800 local South African time. That's noon Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. He wore a black and gold tropical shirt as he walked through the crowd with no face covering, guarded by men dressed as traditional warriors wearing leopard skins and holding spears with oxhide shields. It made for quite a spectacle, quite an odd spectacle for a man who claims his life is in jeopardy by incarceration. So he must have some magical muti from the Sangoma that protects him to walk around today without a face covering, without immunization, amongst people in public, at a band gathering, but not in a jail cell by himself. That's some really powerful muti he's got there. They can give Zuma 15 months or 100 months. He's not going to serve even 1 day or even 1 minute of that. They would have to kill me before they put their hands on him, according to his son, Edward Zuma, who told that to Reuters news agency. Now, earlier this week, in a scathing judgment handed down at the Constitutional Court back on Tuesday, Justice C.C. Kampepe said Zuma attempted to corrode the legitimacy of the Constitutional Court by conducting a politically motivated smear campaign against it and the Commission and the judiciary. Numerous convoys of provincial local leaders, including the ANC Secretary in KwaZulu-Natal, Ntuli, and Provincial Premier Zikalala were spotted at the homestead, as well as reports of senior ANC officials from the Niehaus descending down into KZN in Nkandla to get Jacob Zuma to turn himself in. Now, Jacob Zuma's loyal lapdog, Carl Niehaus, told the French press agency that the former president was in his homestead meeting spiritual leaders today. Well, perhaps he was meeting spiritual leaders, but he's also out and about amongst the people. A man who claims that his life is in jeopardy. If you put him and incarcerate him in jail, he's in jeopardy. He might catch the Rona, but he won't catch it walking around hundreds of people in the open, no face coverings. One has to question what's really in play here. Well, there you have it, folks. Today, the 3rd of July, 2021, Jacob Zuma magically slips through the noose. He escapes incarceration, and the Constitutional Court, which has no obligation to listen to his request to rescind the contempt conviction, after all, he is a convicted criminal now. They're under no obligation to even listen to it. They have entertained that. And instead of Jacob Zuma turning himself in tomorrow, 5 days after the judgment, or being arrested within the 3 days after that by the South African Police Service, he now gets to wait until the 12th of July. We shall see. Jacob Zuma avoids incarceration with a questionable legal maneuver. We shall see what happens. Zuma Watch, Day 1, July 3rd, 2021. Thanks for tuning in, folks. If you're not a subscriber to Chris Wyatt Africa, hey, why not become one? Smash that button right down there. We'll give you daily updates on Jacob Zuma's situation as we go through this until either he goes to jail or he's pardoned or his sentence is set aside. And then we'll let you know. Thanks a lot, folks, for your support. Appreciate your patronage here on Chris Wyatt Africa.